In this finish, we saw Sasha's wig get pulled back by Asuka. What's up, Maniacs? My name is Mex. I'm a wrestling fan, a wrestling enthusiast, a WrestleManiac if you will, and today we are discussing the horror show Extreme Rules. It was a really entertaining pay-per-view with a lot of good matches on it. There is quite a lot to get through which happened on this show, so let's not waste any time and try and get straight into the video. Right here at WrestleManiac UK, I discuss everything that is WWE and AEW, so if this sounds like the place for you, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you get notified every time I drop a new video. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into the review. Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura versus The New Day. The New Day 8-time tag team champions, and they were defending this championship in a tables match which was picked by Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. It was a tornado tag team match and the action was fast and furious, wild. It's so funny, every time, you know, during a regular match when they start bringing out tables and stuff, people are so fast to go through them. Same with the ladder spots, people are so fast to climb up ladders until it's a ladder match, until it's a table match, and then all of a sudden everyone struggles to put someone through a table, everyone struggles to climb a ladder, and this was the same here. There was a lot of opportunities where both teams could have put their opponents through the table, but it just never came to fruition. Kofi was really fired up for this, so a lot of shot calling and calling orders at Big E, which commentary highlighted too. And towards the latter stages of the match, they took out a table from underneath the ring and actually stacked it on top of an already standing table, so we had two tables now. And again, if you know anything about wrestling, it tends to be the person that sets up the table goes through it, and unfortunately this was the case here. While Big E was recuperating on the other side of the ring, Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro got Kofi Kingston into a powerbomb position from about the middle rope, the middle turnbuckle, and Cesaro drove Kofi Kingston through those two standing tables. It happened so quickly, the cameras didn't even catch it in its full glory, but when they slowed it down, when it was showing the replays after the match, you could see Kofi literally went through those two tables right down the middle. It couldn't have been any good on his back. Fair play to Kofi, he sold it like a champion, stayed folded up amongst all the table shrapnel while Cesaro and Shinsuke were celebrating their tag team championship win. So pretty much like predicted, Cesaro and Shinsuke won the tag team championships here, and I'm happy for them. It just gives them a bit more direction with what they're going to do, and hopefully we can see them in some more good matches on SmackDown. Next up, we had the SmackDown Women's Championship match, Bayley the champion versus Nikki Cross. And before the match, they had Nikki Cross getting confidence backstage from Kairi Sane, Asuka and Alexa Bliss. She's never really come across as someone that is short on confidence, but these guys are maybe just giving her one last oomph just to tell her, you know, we need to dethrone these guys. So as the match started, Nikki Cross still looked a bit shaken, not really knowing how to approach the match. Bayley doing a bit of mind games too. But as she grew into the match, Nikki Cross became her regular, rabid, crazy self and really was challenging Bayley and made it look at times that she was going to dethrone Bayley for this title. As the match was coming to a close, Bayley crawled underneath the bottom rope and Sasha Banks went over to her and fixed her legit boss ring sets that she wears on her knuckles over Bayley's knuckles. So Bayley was now armed with these. Sasha Banks then climbed onto the apron where she was met by Alexa Bliss, and as the referee was telling them both to get down and stop getting involved in the match, Bayley hit Nikki Cross square in the ribs with these rings on her hand. Nikki Cross fell to her knees, Bayley applied her finisher and got the pin. It was always going to be a tough ask for Nikki Cross to win this title, and we always knew as long as Sasha Banks was out there was going to be some type of chicanery, but it was a very good showing for Nikki Cross and Bayley retained her championship. So what we should have got next was the United States Championship match between Apollo Crews and MVP. However, the camera cut over to the commentary team and they let us know that Apollo Crews isn't here tonight and cannot compete for the United States Championship or cannot defend his title as he has not been medically cleared as of yet. Now Apollo Crews, the champion, has not been on TV for probably about a month now, 3 weeks maybe, 3-4 weeks. And I'm beginning to think he may be one of those superstars that are suffering from the virus, from the ongoing pandemic. So if anyone has any information on that, please put your comments down below, because I haven't heard anything official, but I would say about 3-4 weeks is a long time, unless it's a real injury. But I thought this was a kayfabe thing. Regardless of the announcement, MVP and Bobby Lashley came down to the ring, and MVP has basically said that Apollo Crews has forfeited as the United States champion, and now MVP is the rightful United States champion. champion. So we will soon see if this is a self-proclaimed thing or if Apollo Crews is really out injured or sick. Are they going to put the title on MVP in the interim? Before we get onto the highly anticipated eye for an eye match, guys, if you are enjoying this review, please make sure you give me a thumbs up and like this video and share it with anyone else that you know enjoyed Extreme Rules last night. So, eye for an eye match, Seth Rollins, Rey Mysterio, who was going to lose an eye? This is what we came to see, and how were they quite going to do this? We had been told we may see some special effects to see an eye being extracted from one of the competitors, but we never really knew how this was all going to come together. At the start of the match, we learnt that Seth Rollins actually came to the ring with a wrench, which I guess he was going to use to take out Rey Mysterio's eye. Rey Mysterio blindsided him right from the beginning of the match, and this match was really good. We didn't get loads in the way of actual wrestling. It was a bit of a fight, but when we did get some wrestling involved in the match, it was fast and furious and really showed what these two guys can do. These guys tried to use any object to take out eyes. They were using the bottom of chairs, kendo sticks, splitting kendo sticks in half so that it could be more sharper. However, the match did end how this entire thing started. Seth Rollins taking Rey Mysterio's eye to the corner of the steel steps and pushing his head right into that corner. Now, I didn't see it when I watched the actual broadcast, but as I looked back and watched replays and saw pictures on social media, you can see Rey Mysterio was actually holding some sort of object which I guess resembled an eye, was supposed to be his eye, in his hand as Seth Rollins got off him whilst at the steel steps. Seth Rollins couldn't really believe what he saw and ran away from the scene, vomiting in a corner, and I was laughing as he vomited because there was no liquid. When you usually vomit, it's usually liquid mixed with chunks of food and whatever the case is, or maybe just liquid, I don't know, but it was just like Seth Rollins was just spitting out chunks of food, which I found a bit hilarious. One small thing I noticed as well, didn't Seth Rollins attack the already injured eye of Rey Mysterio as opposed to the other one? I felt like it was on the same side. I might be wrong, let me know what you think. But yeah, Rey Mysterio was escorted away by paramedics. Dominic ran down as well to help his dad up the ramp, and there was just an eerie silence left in the arena. It was like Seth Rollins didn't really believe what he had just done and wasn't proud of what he had just done, and he was getting booed. He got booed out of the arena. There was no Seth Rollins theme tune to see him out, to declare him as the winner. He just kind of walked out embarrassed, ashamed of himself. Next, we had the Raw Women's title match, Sasha Banks versus Asuka. Now, before we talk about the finish, the match itself, awesome. Just a great match. I was seeing stuff from Sasha Banks in that match which I've never seen her do before. New submission holds and things like that. We saw some great athleticism at times, and it was pretty much a clean match until we were approaching the finish. Can we just give it up one time for Bayley? Like, Bayley has just been absolutely fantastic over the last couple of weeks, and her involvement in what turned out to be such an overbooked finish was nothing short of hilarious. I'm telling you guys, if you have not seen this pay-per-view, you want to watch it for this match and finish alone. In this finish, we saw Kairi Sane attacking Bayley. In this finish, we saw Asuka green misting the referee. In this finish, we saw Sasha's wig get pulled back by Asuka. In this finish, we also saw Sasha Banks tapping out to the Asuka lock, but the referee didn't see it. The referee was blinded by the green mist. And last but not least, in this finish, we saw Bayley hitting Asuka over the back with the tag team championships. Bayley then taking the referee's shirt off his back, putting it on and counting 1, 2, 3 and crowning Sasha Banks the Raw Women's Champion. Now, we don't know if this is actually going to stand. It has been referred to by WWE themselves as a controversial finish, and although there are pictures on the internet of Sasha and Bayley with all the championships basically, WWE have not yet acknowledged Sasha Banks as the champion. So I'm sure maybe on Raw we're going to get some type of rematch for this. It is known that Sasha Banks never defends her titles, so do with that information what you may. But the finish was so overbooked, it like you just couldn't help but laugh. It was really enjoyable, and I'm so happy with the opportunity opportunity these women are getting to put on these great matches, to have these great storylines. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. Now for the WWE Championship, we had Dolph Ziggler taking on Drew McIntyre, and Dolph Ziggler was to pick the stipulation. And despite the fact I think we all knew Drew McIntyre was still going to retain no matter the stipulation picked, Dolph Ziggler picked a pretty good stipulation. It was an Extreme Rules match. However, Dolph was the only person that allowed to basically not be disqualified. And Dolph Ziggler could also win the championship if Drew McIntyre got himself counted out, which traditionally isn't a rule in a World Championship match. However, despite the stipulation, Drew McIntyre still prevailed. There were some really good spots in this match and some really rough ones. Dolph Ziggler doing an elbow drop, putting Drew McIntyre through a table, looked like he came off worse than Drew McIntyre did. We also saw Drew McIntyre take a litany of chair shots, but like I say, as Dolph Ziggler was preparing for a super kick, we got a kip up from Drew McIntyre, a claymore, and 3 seconds later, Drew McIntyre retains the WWE Championship. Last but not least, we got the main event, the Swamp Fight, Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman. Now, to be honest, I enjoyed the concept of this match, and from what we got a lot of flashbacks to their time together and a lot of references of their time together, and Bray still trying to sell Braun on the idea of rejoining him. Braun still very adamant that that was not going to happen. There were other people at the Swamp that were kind of fighting on Bray's behalf as well. We had a really good segment where Braun actually knocked himself out. This was the Braun Strowman of old wearing the black sheep mask. We had a really interesting segment of this match when Alexa Bliss was involved, wearing a veil. She was telling Braun Strowman to come, they can be together like they always wanted to be, kind of taking us back to the time around when they used to do Mixed Match Challenge, and those two were a team and they always used to have those kind of flirty bits together. And to be honest, that looked like it had warped Braun Strowman. He was going wherever he was being asked to, but he was soon woken up and attacked by Bray again. And this all led to a point where they actually got into water in the swamp and they were fighting. I think at one point Braun was being drowned and Bray was under the water as well. And I think at what Braun thought was the end, he was actually dragged back into the water, and from there emerged the Fiend. So it was the Fiend that dragged Braun back in, and we never saw Braun for the rest of the match. I guess the match ended at that point, and we got the imagery of the Fiend laughing as he does. So I think there's one major issue for myself whilst watching this, and that was the lack of light in the picture. I know they were trying to convey the surroundings of a swamp, however I found it really difficult to follow along because I was struggling to see effectively what was going on in the match. But I think this was a pretty much typical ending we all expected, the Fiend getting involved, and this is going to go to SummerSlam, where I assume it's going to be Braun Strowman versus the Fiend Bray Wyatt this time, and the Fiend is going to pick up the Universal Championship. So that is the review done, guys. Like I said, a really solid pay-per-view. I found it really enjoyable in parts. Everyone done a really good job telling their stories and giving us a high energy pay-per-view. Sasha Banks and Asuka, that finish alone made that match for me, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen on Raw. Put your guesses down below of what you think is going to be the outcome of Sasha walking around as Raw Women's Champion, but is she actually the Women's Champion? Guys, if you enjoyed this review, please make sure you give me a like, and if you are new here, welcome. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get notified every time I drop a new video. And that is it. The Horror Show, Extreme Rules, done and in the books. The next step on the pay-per-view train, SummerSlam. WrestleManiac UK signing out, and I'll see you soon.